here was a question that I had. So there is critical race theory sweeping the nation. You know, it's everywhere. It's in education, all that kind of stuff. Several states are taking steps that have like conservative governors to ban it, to ban it in the education system. And I don't know. I was like, man, what would I do as a governor? Like, you want to represent the people, and I guess, but also you're expected to do what you think is best for them. But the only thought that
also, when you're representing the people, are you representing your state or the country, or?
I think your state. I think your state.
So what if your state? What if you took a vote and your state is 60-40 against gay marriage?
Well, I think what you're supposed to do is, as your term in governor, you're supposed to do what you think is best for the people in your state, and then get voted out if in your next term, if that doesn't correspond with what I think that's actually like the structure of it.
Got it. So you don't feel like they're beholden to the polls.
I think if everyone were clamoring for the Iraq War, for instance, and you're like, I'm certain there's no WMDs there, I think the right thing to do ethically in the democratic system is to vote no. Or yes, if you think that it's the right thing to do and everyone's against it, and then get voted out of office ASAP, I think. But in any event, it was just interesting because the fight indicates that, like you mentioned earlier, like kids just believe whatever the heck you tell them. Like whatever story you tell kids, people have started to recognize this very clearly. And this was happening all along, right? There's always indoctrination going on in schools, and this is not the first idea that people have been like, oh, what if we got this into their heads really young? But it's, I guess, become, I don't know if there was always this tight of a fight over it, or maybe it's started to happen post World War II with less concrete enemies that we could all agree upon. But yeah, people recognize like, oh, if you control the public education curriculum, it is an investment in just controlling the future. Like you have to wait 30-ish years, but you just have a nation of people that will behave in semi-predictable ways based on what you've told them. And that could be, they could all be very patriotic, or they could all be, and I don't mean that as a good or a bad thing. It's just scary.
Yeah, you just hear it 1,000 times growing up. You think it's true.
Yeah. And you've got these people fighting over, clearly not agreeing over the story of the past, and they're going to tell it to kids, and kids wouldn't even have an idea to doubt it. They wouldn't even know that there was disagreement over the past. I remember the first time that I encountered people's history of the United States, and I heard just not the right story of the United States, but just a different story. I was like, oh, damn. I didn't know there was an alternative interpretation. Or that
where we're not the good guys.
Canon. Yeah, that it was, and then we took half of Mexico for nothing? Like, that's just a segment of America that I've really not even heard discussed outside of Howard's.
No, and obviously some people do think something other than what they were told. You know, we have atheists from religious families, but I think for people who are listening here sitting, oh no, I'm atheist, oh no, I'm agnostic, that's not true. People can think critically. Just think about what a small part of the country is atheist and agnostic. Compare it to how strongly you feel like the atheist arguments are clearly the best, and that's what you're going to get for any issue. Because I feel like most atheists are like, oh yeah, obviously it's so dumb that you would ever believe in a religious book. And I shook free of my religious upbringing. So clearly we all can. It's like, well, clearly we all can't, because a very small part of the population is atheists. So.
Yeah. No, for sure. I just have a bunch of random things if you want me to keep going.
No, I'll go for it.
I read a study it was just a Reddit thing, and I clicked it. It said, I might get the phrasing wrong. Study finds BLM protests were overwhelmingly peaceful. And then I clicked the study, and it was a short thing, and it had numbers in it. You know, we studied 7,000 incidents in 7,435 incidents, yada, yada, yada. But I found it was like, if I was interested in the idea of, are these peaceful? That's, first off, what does that mean? In my mind, it means, were these events peaceful in comparison to similar events controlled for scale, but also then let's just talk in the absolute number. Meaning like, okay, let's look at like the Rodney King riots and compare them to this. Let's compare them to Martin Luther King's peace walks or whatever he did, the walk to Selma or all that kind of stuff. And instead what was done is they broke like different gatherings up and called them like, I think, a unit of one, and then said this one was peaceful, this one was peaceful, this one was peaceful, and then the Santa Monica one was not. And they concluded that 97% of it was peaceful, which was like, this is not useful. this is not useful information. And you can come up with a million things, but World War II was mostly peaceful. Like most of the day in most places, it was peaceful. It's just so like 99% of the time, World War II was very peaceful. Only people were only dying on 1% of the occasions. Like that is just such an unuseful way to formulate the backbone of that sentence. And then I was clicking around and went to the authors, and one of them has a book on activism coming out, and it was a Harvard study, and I was like, man, I still have this that I can't shake, this institutional deference. When I see Harvard and a number, it puts something in my brain that is different than the guy down the hall making a claim.
Yeah. Well, they teach this in statistics, or at least they did where I went to college, that you can basically abuse statistics to make any point you want.
And they might not be wrong. Like there is a study that is, I think, compelling and interesting, which is how, like I said, how does this compare to similar events, both on scale? And I'd also want to know the absolute, because it's one thing to say, oh, like the Rodney King riots were more violent, more damage was done, more people were hurt, more people died. But also then you want to look nationwide and say, okay, on a scale level, it was less, but absolute, there was more. That to me is an interesting, were they peaceful, weren't they peaceful? But they just, to me, didn't even engage with the central question. And in myself, the most disappointing thing was when I saw Harvard, I just felt something. I felt, oh, I should click this. Like this could be interesting. This could tell me something. And I was like, oh no, I don't know if these institutions ever were worth extra deference, but I wish I would get it through my head that that they no longer, to me, are. And if you went to Harvard, that's not a diss on you. That's a diss on the presumed authority that I give without any other data to Harvard or New York Times or Business Insider, or I don't give, and I'm purposely excluding Fox News and Cato Institute because I never gave them any credit because that was the family that I was raised in. But yeah. Hope that you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to see more like this and have us do more podcasts, we are 100% funded by our generous patrons. And if you'd like to contribute, there's a link in the description, and we'll have one pop up on the screen right here so that we can do more podcasts where we have fun conversations and hopefully some deep ones like this. Either way, hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.